Hi there, and welcome to our July Community Conversations. My name is Hillary Hightower. I am the Director of Training and Outreach at Denton County Friends of the Family. I have some very special guests with me here today for this community conversation about internships at Denton County Friends of the Family. As a former intern myself, I was very excited about this topic, and we offer lots of different internships at the agency that we'll talk through in a minute, but I would like our guests to introduce themselves first. And so on my screen, I first see Abby.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abby DeShazo. I am a previous advocacy intern and a current outreach advocate.
Next on my screen, I see Mariah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Mariah Ward. I am a current master's student at Capella University, and I am interning in the adult counseling department.
Thanks, Mariah. Next, I see Christopher.
Hi, I'm Chris Carter. I am a former counseling intern, and I'm currently a postdoctoral fellow in clinical neuropsychology at the Dallas Cognitive Wellness Center.
Thanks, Chris. I'm so glad you got to join us. Next on my screen, I see Deja.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Deja Pink, and I was a former intern with the Prevention, Education, and Awareness Program, and now I am currently the SAT coordinator with Friends of the Family.
Awesome. Last but certainly not least, Khadijah.
Hello, my name is Khadijah Benford. I am a previous residential advocate intern, and I am currently a high-risk advocate on our legal team.
Thank you all for introducing yourselves. And part of the reason that I reached out to each of you is just trying to get a broad scope of the different types of internships that we offer at Denton County Friends of the Family. Often we have numbers wise more counseling interns than any other program, but sometimes when we have all the counseling interns join to talk, then the other programs who have internships kind of get drowned out in just sheer numbers. And so I feel like we have a great balance of folks who had different internship experiences at Denton County Friends of the Family. And so I wanted to share with folks watching today just a little bit about the different internships we have at the agency. So the Community Engagement Department, which is the department to which Deja and I belong, has different internships. If you are someone who is interested in social media or public speaking, that would be the internship for you. We also have marketing and development internships. And so if you're someone who's interested in fundraising or in-kind donation drives, like our back to school drive that we have going on right now, or even volunteering, if you are someone who is interested in helping coordinate and schedule volunteers, the marketing and development team might be the team for you for an internship. We have internships in our operations department. So our operations department really helps keep the wheels on the bus around here. And so part of what they are doing is keeping the computers and the phone systems and the day-to-day running of the agency going. And so operations also includes like our front desk staff. Operations includes IT. And so if you're interested at all in those types of a nonprofit agency, certainly the operations team might be an internship for you. So Abby's department, to which she belongs, is the Outreach Advocacy Department, and they offer internships. And Abby will get to tell you in a little bit about what her internship in that department was like. Myself and Mariah and Chris all at some point in time belong to the counseling internship program. And so you'll really specifically hear from Mariah about her current experiences doing that, and Chris about his past experiences in that department. Within the counseling department, we of course have play therapy for kiddos. And so sometimes we have play therapy interns who are working specifically with kids. Khadijah mentioned that she was a residential advocacy intern. And so that means that she was an advocacy intern within our shelter. And she'll get to speak to you about her experiences doing that. We also have children's program interns, be those at shelter or at outreach. So if you're really someone who maybe is working on an early childhood education degree and you want a different kind of experience than a school, those departments might be options for you. We have the battering intervention and prevention program that works with offenders of domestic violence, and there are internship opportunities in several places within that department. You can help co-facilitate groups for those folks, or you can be a BIP partner advocate who's in charge of contacting victim partners to the folks who are attending the BIP groups. We have internships available at Upscale Resale, which is our thrift shop. Of course, we have a crisis line. And so sometimes the crisis line has internship opportunities to answer a 24-hour crisis line. We've got a legal team that has some lawyers and a paralegal, and Khadijah belongs to that team now as a high-risk advocate, and they offer internships in their department. And then last but not least, we have just general administrative internship opportunities. And so that is just a very quick rundown of all the different internship opportunities we have at Denton County Friends of the Family. And so my first question for all of our panelists, and I think maybe just for ease of no one talking at the same time via Zoom, I'll say like, okay, so-and-so go first if that feels comfortable to everyone. But my first question that I'm hoping all of you will have time to answer is, share with us about when you were in school or when you had the opportunity to choose where you were going to do an internship. What made you choose Denton County Friends of the Family? And honestly, if it's like it was the third one on the list, that's a totally okay answer. But if there was a specific reason that you chose the agency, share that with us. And Deja, why don't you start?
Okay. So when I was a student, this was for my undergraduate degree. So it would have been spring of 2019. It was time for me to do my practicum because I was in the social work program at TWU. And so we had to choose where we would want to be placed. And I think Friends of the Family was third on my list, actually. I don't remember what the first and second were, but I put Friends of the Family on my list because my family has experienced domestic violence and sexual assault. So I was familiar with the dynamics and things like that. So I figured that would be a pretty good fit for me. And then also the proximity of my home to Friends of the Family, I wanted to also be close. I didn't want to commute. And so those two things were the main reasons why I chose Friends of the Family. And I'm so glad I did.
Thank you, Deja. Christopher, what about you?
Sure. So I was knee deep in the middle of my PhD program. And I remember I think it was one of my therapy classes we had a tour of Denton County Friends of the Family. And I remember talking about Denton County Friends of the Family and all the services that were provided. It was really interesting to me, and also talking about trauma. And I remembered looking at all my experiences I've accrued. I came from a non-counseling program. I came from the school psychology program at TWU. And I was like, I have this big gap in my training. And what would be better than to not only work on counseling, but also work with, individuals who have experienced trauma and, intimate partner violence and things like that, and looking at crisis intervention and advocacy. I'm like, these are all these skills, under one roof, under one site. And I wanted to apply. And I remember during my interview, like, that was one of the things that were discussed, and like talking and just a lot of education on my part of things I just didn't get in my program that I wanted for myself. And I sought that out, and of course I wasn't disappointed at all.
I love that both of you sort of had this connection to, like, Deja had a personal connection and, okay, these things are important in my life. And then Chris, your connection was like, okay, there's a gap in my education about these things. Abby, what about you?
So I've just always been very fascinated with the population of domestic violence and sexual assault. I knew I always wanted to work in some kind of trauma work. I wanted to work with folks who had experienced trauma, and so I really wanted to learn more about that. And specifically, sexual assault was always a big passion of mine, is getting involved with that population. So when I moved to Denton to go to UNT, one of the first things I Googled was, domestic violence and sexual assault nonprofits in my area, and Denton County Friends of the Family popped up. And at that point, anytime I had an opportunity throughout school to do some kind of community service or volunteer work, if it was something that was required within my degree plan, I immediately did stuff for Friends of the Family, completed my volunteer orientation, I believe in 2017. And just knew anytime that I had an opportunity to do something for Friends of the Family, that's what I wanted to do. So when my internship came around, I automatically knew I'm going to do Denton County Friends of the Family. It was choosing my internship path that was difficult. Being an undergrad with a passion to do counseling, didn't have the opportunity to do that just yet, but I was very excited to jump into anything Friends of the Family had to offer, because I was just so passionate about the work that this agency does.
I can relate to that. Khadijah, what about you?
So I was also in the TW undergrad in the social work program. And so I also had to choose a practicum. And one of my professors was actually on the board of Friends of the Family. And so she always spoke about all the great things that Friends of the Family did for the community and the huge impact that they made. And I actually got the opportunity to attend a board meeting. And so I got to meet everyone on the board. I got to meet the executive director, Tony Johnson Simpson. And I was like, yeah, I need to be there. I need to be a part of this agency. And so I was able to join.
Was that Dr. Marshall who was your teacher, Khadijah?
Yes, Dr.
Yeah.
Linda Marshall, if you're watching, hey, thank you.
She is, Linda Marshall is back on the board, so you will get to see her soon, I'm sure. So she did a rotation off, and she is back with us. Mariah, what about you? You're our current intern on the panel. Tell us about what made you choose Friends of the Family.
Yeah, it was really important for me to find a placement that had a really deep breadth of services. I really wanted to be in a place that offered holistic services. And I think that that's really evidenced by all of the different departments that you had just listed. We are not just treating or supporting or helping one aspect of a client's life. We have the services and the people to support almost every aspect of their life. That was something that I was really, really looking for. And as you said, I'm a current intern. And so finding a placement during COVID was also really challenging. But Friends of the Family pivoted. Like, they made it happen. They made it work, offering the virtual services, whether that be, telehealth counseling, or I know that advocates are meeting via phone or via video services. They didn't leave the clients hanging. And that was something that was so important to me. Not only that we have all the services, but that our services are accessible.
It is certainly, Mariah, thank you for speaking to that. A weird time in the scheme of life to be an intern and have to be looking for internships. And I know Dr. Cram, who's our director of clinical services, she was in this space of, we've got to figure this out because all of these students are having to postpone internship or practicum for a year or a semester. And she did not want that to be the case. And so we did everything we could to do the pivoting, like you mentioned. And I know, we are currently, clients can choose whether they want to come in person or still continue their services virtually. And I think it has been so important to us to know how to be accessible in that way. And Khadijah's team, the legal services team, their numbers increased exponentially during the pandemic because their services were more accessible to clients who couldn't physically come to this building. And so Mariah and Chris, both of you and me at one point in time have been part of the counseling department. And so for adult counseling, one of the things that Dr. Krim really wanted me to speak about is that there is a model that we use when you come into Friends of the Family that has some statistic data behind it for working with victims of trauma, and that is the CPT model, which is cognitive processing therapy. And that is just a really specific behavioral therapy that has been effective in reducing the symptoms of PTSD that folks develop after experiencing trauma. And so it's typically delivered over a 12-session timeline and helps clients learn how to really challenge and modify unhelpful beliefs related to their trauma. And so I think that is something that has happened within the last 5 or 6 years within the counseling department at Friends of the Family. And so, Mariah, what has it been like for you as a current intern to utilize CPT?
Yeah, it was an interesting transition for any counseling interns who might be watching. I was a very non-directive counselor. I usually take the pragmatic approach. And when I came into Friends of the Family, I was learning CPT, which falls under the umbrella of cognitive behavioral therapy. This is different than the way I've practiced in the past because it's very manualized, it's very directive, but it's also heavily evidence-based for this population. And one of the things that I love so much about it is that I see so much progress in all of my clients, and it's measurable progress. They are actually meeting measurable goals. And that's something that you don't always see with a pragmatic approach. And so this is something that I have really enjoyed learning and applying. And I know that the clients really enjoy it as well because the progress that they see in themselves motivates them to keep going.
Chris, as a former counseling intern, you know about progress and that sometimes in this work it's hard to see. And when clients can really see that, it makes a difference. Chris, how does that the being able to like meet goals and that space and having been here as a counseling intern, how has that transitioned into the role that you have now?
That's a really good question. So right now, I primarily do a lot of cognitive rehab and also assessment. A lot of my dissertation I did was based on chemical-based traumatic brain injury related to trauma, emotional trauma and psychological trauma with kids. And so a lot of that, whenever you meet those goals with your clients, it's almost like as if you want to put on a celebration. And it's not just a celebration with them, but also just a celebration of just the process. All the work that they've done, all the, hurdles that they've had to overcome, remembering your first session with them during the intake of how they were when they first started and where they are now, that they have climbed mountains to get to where they are. It's an amazing feeling. And I get that sense when I work with kids with traumatic brain injury, and they're able to pick up a pencil again and do something. And so it's the best feeling in the world of just going and going home and just feeling like this kid has turned themselves around or this patient has turned themselves around and they're on this track of recovery. It's amazing.
Those measurables are the thing that, and even for, advocates, you'll know when a client meets a goal, when they check a box, it is party time, Chris. It is absolutely time to celebrate. And one of the things too, I think is important if there are future counseling interns listening, our counseling staff, they all also are able to discuss with you about conceptualizing clients from different theories. And you can conceptualize clients in a different way, but we do follow that CPT 12-session model, but being able to discuss and conceptualize what's going on with the client and their trauma, our staff is absolutely, and your supervisors would be open to doing those things. But that measurable evidence-based success is super important when you're working with folks who've experienced trauma. All right, so I'm going to keep moving to my next question for our panelists. Let's start with Khadijah. What did you like best about interning here?
Yes. So what I enjoyed the most about being a residential shelter advocate was that it was a very hands-on experience. I was able to work directly with the clients and their children, and I was able to just receive that guidance from the advocates that were there, as well as the different departments within the shelter. So I was able to get trained on crisis line and how to screen clients in or connect them to different resources, which is very important in this field as a social worker or studying social work. I was also able to just learn the other programs within Denton County Friends of the Family, because you kind of have to know all the different resources we provide in order to provide guidance to the clients. And so I just really enjoyed all of the skills that I was trained in, and it just really helped to build a strong foundation for my career.
Abby, what about you?
Well, I'm jealous because Khadijah took my answer. The hands-on experience was absolutely my favorite thing. So Khadijah and I were both advocacy interns, but I was at our outreach office. So I wasn't directly in the shelter. So we certainly got to experience similar methods of advocacy and how our agency advocates for our clients, but in different stages. So a lot of what I did was helping with like intakes, which would be our first step in getting folks connected to our services, such as advocacy, counseling, what have you. So that was incredibly rewarding to be able to have that connection with a client right when they come in and help make that connection. And the fact that I got to have that hands-on experience in my internship is something I thought was really unique about Friends of the Family, especially with my counterparts who were doing different internships elsewhere. Sounded like it was a lot of like paperwork and admin stuff, which like whatever fits best for you. But personally, I wanted that client contact. I wanted that one-on-one time, because that's how I learned best, is really getting in there and doing the work. So I was really fortunate that Friends of the Family trusted that in me and gave me all of the training I needed to be able to do that well.
Well, if there's one thing we do as an agency, it is dunk people in. Chris, what about you? What was your favorite part of interning at Friends of the Family?
It's kind of hard to pick. There's a few things. Well, I think one thing I would say is, I'm not going to take everybody else's, but I would say the tremendous support of the staff is a big one. Group supervision, I feel like that everyone was taking concerns that I had seriously about clients, both on the victim side and on the bitch side. I felt like I could walk into someone's office and get help that I need right then and there, right away. I never felt like that I was alone when it came to a difficult situation or a crisis situation, that there was always someone there readily available to help me. And if there was something that I had difficulty processing, I mean, I can go to 2 or 3 supervisors if my supervisor was unavailable at the time, and, you know, bounce some ideas off of them about how to work with certain clients and utilize it there and then later address it with my supervisor. But I would say the tremendous support was one of the big things that I really appreciated about Friends of the Family.
I'm so glad to hear that. Deja, what about you?
For me, it was definitely a combination of all of their answers. I felt very supported here. I felt like I could ask any and every question that I had, and someone would get back to me very quickly, or I could just walk into someone's office and get what I needed. And then also, like what Abby was saying, I was able to do so much. So I was able to do a lot of the prevention work, where it was like community presentations. That helped me a lot with getting out of my comfort zone, because I'm very closed off and like private. So like being able to do public speaking and stuff like that was very helpful for me. And then I was also able to help with intakes and help with our Community Matters program, which is targeted outreach for the African-American community. So I just felt like I was just meeting so many people, doing public speaking, and then also getting that direct client contact. So I feel like I was able to do a little bit of everything. And that was just really great for me, because like Abby was saying, sometimes people get assigned to an internship and it's like your supervisor will tell you what to do. You have specific tasks every day, or you sit at a desk all day and do paperwork. But here it was like you have freedom to do what you want to do and what works best for you. So I like that a lot.
Mariah, so far in your internship, what has been your favorite part?
Yes, my favorite part of the internship is our counseling groups. Not all agencies offer groups, but I find that with this population, it's really common for individuals who have gone through trauma to feel isolated or feel alone. And so the fact that we offer groups is so empowering. These clients are actually seeing others who have gone through very similar situations. It's helping them to not feel so alone. They feel really supported. And then also our groups are not always focused on domestic violence or sexual assault. We also have an expressive arts group where clients can, really bring a lot of art and crafts and into their healing. We also have a mindfulness group, which is very similar to meditation. And so, like I had said earlier, this is very holistic, and it's really bringing people together and connecting them and supporting them. And I would say that's my favorite part.
Mariah, I too am a huge fan of group, be that for victim services or for BIP. I believe in the power of group. And so I'm happy to hear that that's one of the parts of your internship that you're enjoying. So Mariah, since I just had you on the mic, I'm going to keep you there. Tell me so far, what has been the hardest or most difficult part of your internship?
I think the hardest part is connecting with clients virtually. And that's something that's very much out of our control, right? I mean, COVID affected the whole world in really deep ways. I'm so proud that Friends of the Family did pivot to virtual services, and we did say like, hey, we are still going to provide you support, and we're still going to be there for you. But it's not the same as being with someone in person and having those connections in person. But as you mentioned earlier, our clients now can choose. They can come back into the office. And so I would say at first, navigating the virtual telehealth world was very much a challenge, but we are seeing clients come back in person, and I think that's a win.
Absolutely. Abby, what about you? What was the most difficult part of your internship?
I think the most difficult part for me was learning how to practice empathy in a professional and appropriate way. As an undergrad I was an undergrad in human development and family science, so not social work, not psychology. I did minor in counseling, so I had some like intro to counseling classes and stuff like that. So I learned a little bit, but it was certainly a challenge to be sitting in front of someone as an intern. And having to, or not having to, but allowing them to share their story with you for potentially the first time, but most definitely the first time with a member of our agency at the intake level, and really wanting to be cautious of what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, my facial expressions, just a lot of stuff to really make sure that you're creating a safe space. And you're helping form that relationship between the client and this agency as a whole. it was very intense as an intern. It was a really intense thing to experience for the first time. But with that, I gained so much information and felt really confident very quickly because I was trusted with that, like, hey, you got this. So that was certainly a challenge when I first started as an intern.
Deja, what about you? What was the hardest or most difficult part?
For me, it would probably be that it was uncomfortable. It was something that I wasn't really used to doing. You know, when you're in school, you know, you sit in a classroom, you learn, you take notes, you do homework. But then when you go into practicum and field experience, it's like you're applying what you know. And so when I first got to Friends of the Family, I didn't know really what I wanted to do. If I wanted to do like more macro work, which is like community work, or more micro, which is a direct client contact. So just kind of figuring out what I like to do. And then, like I said, the public speaking was uncomfortable for me, but I'm glad that I did it because it's super helpful for me now. And so I think that would be it for me, that it was just uncomfortable at first. But sometimes you need to be uncomfortable to get where you want to be.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, now you kind of have the best of both worlds. You're in a job that's micro and macro. So you get client contact being the SAT coordinator, but you're also part of the team that does public speaking. So internships, and for anyone listening, there are four out of 6 on this call who did internships at Friends of the Family who work here now. And so we certainly believe in the recycle program. Khadijah, what about you? What was the hardest part of your internship?
Yeah, I think the hardest part for me was to just implement some healthy boundaries. I feel like this was my like the internship. I'd never done anything like this before. And so working at the shelter, I really enjoyed working with the families and I really enjoyed, you know, the work. And so I would have to like, they would like go home, like you're an intern, like you need to leave. And I'd be like, no, I just want to stay and I just want to keep working. And that's not healthy to do. And so I think that was one of the hardest things, was just really creating the boundaries. Like, you're not here to save the world. You're just here to provide guidance, and really understanding that.
There's a whole world of spotlight right about now on setting healthy boundaries and taking care of your mental health as it relates to your job. And so I appreciate you bringing that up, Khadijah. Chris, what about you? When you were here as an intern, what was the hardest part?
I think for me, the hardest part was learning and gaining more self-awareness of myself within the therapeutic setting. And what I mean by that is not only, you know, learning about my mannerisms and things I should and should not say in tape, but also my influence, my physical influence in therapy, being a man, working with victims, having them, you know, being open with being uncomfortable, some of them not being open with that, but just noting those nonverbals that they're probably not comfortable with a man doing therapy with them. But on top of that, just kind of fighting with this imposter syndrome in myself of like, am I being effective as a therapist? Because I see that my client may be going up and down like this with their progress, and just having to come to terms with that I am an effective therapist. And you know, these things happen with this population, this being a sensitive population. It's something that I was new with, and I think that was the hardest thing for me. And it was something that kind of sat with me, just kind of personally, but something that I eventually developed out of with great supervision, having great feedback, especially in BIP groups, talking with my co-facilitator that I was with, and you know, giving me the positive feedback and everything. I was able to get out of that imposter syndrome and really just take confidence in my own abilities, which made me a stronger therapist overall.
Chris mentioned earlier, even doing his interview as an intern. And I remember being one of the people who interviewed you, Chris, for your internship. And I remember you asking, what is the best way for me to be in this space as a man, knowing that 95% of the folks coming in the door are women. And I remember thinking, oh, he's going to be just fine here. If that is the thought at the interview, we're going to make it. So I appreciate you all telling the difficult pieces of that, because I think, we would be not telling the whole story if we only told the shiny, most enjoyable parts of an internship. And I know I mentioned just a moment ago that 4 out of 6 of the panelists, well, really I'm moderating, so several, over half of the folks on the call work here now after having done an internship. But I'd like folks to share a little bit about, and Mariah, as other folks are answering, I won't call on you first, but think about how your internship here has impacted your career or will impact your career. And so Khadijah, if you don't mind, I'd like to start with you.
Yes, so starting as an intern it impacted my career completely. Like when I started, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was just like, I'm gonna just figure out and just, go with the wind. And starting with this intern and learning about all the different ways that we provide guidance, I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm able to be successful in my role because of the foundation of the shelter and all the skills that I was able to learn there. Because like I was saying, it's really important to understand the different ways that the organization provides assistance so that you can best provide service to our clients. And so I have been able to build more confidence because of my internship. I've been able to, really provide a support to the community because of the foundation that Friends of the Family offered me. So.
Awesome. I remember I knew a little bit about Friends of the Family as I, came to do my internship because I had been a volunteer previously, but it really set in for me while I was an intern, like, oh my gosh, these people get paid to be feminists. Like, sign me up for that. And so I remember that was just something to me that, like, people here get paid to empower other people on their journey out of trauma. What an amazing, amazing thing. Deja, what about you? How has your internship impacted your career?
For me, I think my internship helped me a lot, especially with the position that I'm in now. It's very unique because I actually shared an office with the lady who was in my position now. So it was really cool to just see what she was doing. And now I'm doing what she was doing. Of course, things are different with the pandemic and everything. So things have really, really shifted. But just having been an intern here, I was very familiar with, how things worked, the staff, especially with helping with intakes. It's good for me to know, when I'm setting up an intake with someone, what may be helpful for the person who's doing the intake, getting more information and things like that. And so, like I said, the public speaking, because I think that will help me further along in my career. I don't know exactly what that will look like, but I do definitely see myself doing a lot of public speaking and things like that. And so just getting me out of my comfort zone and getting me out of my shell has definitely helped me as a professional and in my personal life. With the prevention work, going to schools, talking to students about boundaries, safe touch, unsafe touch, and those types of things also helps in your personal life as well, like helping you set boundaries, helping your family members set boundaries, healthy communication. It's just helped my life in general. So I'm very appreciative of that.
Chris, what about you? How has interning here impacted your career?
Very much so, to the point where it made me change my dissertation topic to trauma. But I mean, outside of that, I was a licensed specialist in school psychology during my PhD program. And I remember after interning at Friends of the Family, I went to Pennsylvania for a while. So I came back and I worked at a school district where there was this huge discrepancy between higher SES populations and lower SES populations, and the districts have changed significantly, like the district lines have changed. And I had to do a lot of training on, being able to identify the signs of trauma and domestic violence with children as they go to school and what that means. Also looking at poverty and how that also impacts brain development and everything. And I turned more from, I guess, the typical school psych mindset to more of a trauma informed mindset. And I was trying to spread that information to teachers who may have had very minimal or no training at all in those things. So they're able to come and talk to me and say, hey, I've been seeing these signs in this kid. What do you think we need to do? We can take steps from there to help out that kid and get them the support they need, and talk to a social worker or somebody who can take it from there as the next step for the family. And here at my current job, as a neuropsychology postdoc, when I look at intake forms and I see that there may have been a potential trauma, I know how that impacts the brain, and I know which questions to ask further in order to help with that situation. I know that, okay, well, there was a split with the family. Okay, well, how did that split go down? Asking some more probing questions based on that to see, whether there was a healthy, family environment or not that may have also impacted the child's behavior or their overall brain development and emotional development as well. And so that has definitely been like my framework that I go by now in the clinical setting.
Abby, what about you?
Well, it gave me my career. I mean, it's impacted it in such a huge way that I'm still doing it. They got me hooked. Very similar to Khadijah, when I started my internship, I had no idea what I wanted to do. The closest thing I was able to find to something that I felt passionate about was counseling. I was like, well, I really want one-on-one with folks who are experiencing trauma. That was really the biggest thing that I wanted. So that's the direction I was heading in. So my internship was meant to just be a placeholder to help me get my undergrad degree. And then I was going straight to grad school for counseling. And it happened almost instantly. Within a couple of weeks that I started my internship within the advocacy department, that just a fire was like ignited in me. And I was like, oh no, this is what I'm meant to do. This work I became so instantly passionate about it. I wanted to learn about it. I wanted to do everything that these extremely talented women in the advocacy department were doing. And I think there was a very big turning point in me that I was talking to one of the advocates at the time. And I was like, man, I love this work so much. I want to do this when I grow up, because I still felt like a child in an internship. And she said, you can do this now. And I was like, what? And that changed everything for me. I instantly got this confidence that, oh my gosh, I can do this work. This is amazing. And so I immediately transitioned from, okay, this is no longer an internship. This is just a job interview. This is a really long job interview because I'm going to work here. I was so adamant and passionate that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with friends of the family and wanted to be an advocate. And because of that, 2 months after I finished my internship, I got a call with a job offer. So my internship influenced my career in the fact that it gave me a career.
It truly was a really long job interview.
It paid off.
Mariah, as the current intern on the panel, tell us about how you imagine that this is going to impact your career.
Yeah. Earlier we heard Chris speak about the role of supervision, and I want to just highlight that a little bit more. Shout out to my supervisor, Mary, if she happens to see this. She's amazing. I feel like she has helped me polish my skills so much. And not just her, we also have an interdisciplinary team. We meet weekly to show tape, and we staff our clients, and we get feedback from other interns and other staff members. And so I have done internships and I have worked in other areas of mental health and also substance abuse. And my guidance and supervision that I've had before is nothing like I have here. And so I feel like I'm such a better counselor because of being here and the supervision and the guidance that I'm getting. I can tell a difference in my skills just from a couple months ago to where I am now.
I think something that all of you said that is just so true is the confidence building and the support that this agency offers. And it is just, to me, one of the most phenomenal places that you could do an internship. And obviously I'm slightly biased, but the other piece of that is, and I know probably each of you on this call have heard me say this at some point in your knowing me, but doing an internship, no matter the department, at Friends of the Family better prepares you for anything else that you go do than any other internship out there, hands down, period. Like, someone changed my mind because I like the dynamics of domestic and sexual violence are so prevalent throughout every piece of our society that having this as a foundation, to me, and Chris and Abby and Khadijah and Mariah, you're already starting to see it, but I think you know, like when you're sitting in class and you're like, I know more than those people, and not in a like snooty way, but you just do because you've done an internship at Friends of the Family, and the intensity of it is certainly there. And Khadijah, I'm so grateful to you for bringing up the boundary setting and like, and Abby talked about the intensity of like that direct client work, and we do dunk you in. But the other part of it is like you're getting so much more experience than any of your peers. And so to me, I always felt better prepared than any of my colleagues at school who did practicum or internship at a different place. When you think about, as I'm looking, we're getting close to being out of time for today, but anyone who feels comfortable sharing, if there are future interns listening to this, what is one thing you would say to them? Chris?
I would say step out of your comfort zone. I would say think of the hardest thing you can do at your internship and go ahead and do it, because that's the only way that you're able to get that experience and kind of see things from another perspective and put yourself in that uncomfortable position. And that's okay to be uncomfortable because you're being supervised by great supervisors. And if you mess up, if you feel like you mess up, it's okay because your supervisors can help you out through that. And I think that's the best way of diversifying your experiences, is to put yourself in uncomfortable positions that you feel like you're not prepared for.
I love that. Go ahead, Khadijah. I was about to say, who's next?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna add, also make yourself known. Just piggyback off what Chris said, like put yourself out there, make yourself known. Like just take that leap and do it, right? Because them knowing you, knowing your name, and seeing the work that you do only helps to elevate you and helps to grow. I've been in several different positions within the agency over the course of like 4 years since I've been here. And that's because I had to put myself out there and I had to make myself known. And don't doubt yourself. You got this, you're here for a reason. You got to where you are because of the work that you put in. So acknowledge that and don't forget it.
Yeah, that imposter syndrome can be real. And so certainly in any role, we don't want to let that take hold. So any other folks have any nuggets of wisdom that you would like to share with potential future interns who are watching?
Yeah, I can share. I don't know how other programs or other majors kind of structure their internships, but typically if you are a counseling intern and you want to become an LPC, you have to do like about 240 hours of like direct client interaction, could be up to 700 like indirect hours. We have a lot of regulations around that. And one of the things is that Friends of the Family really makes sure that you are checking every box that you need for licensure. If that is your goal, you will do groups, you will do individual, you will have group supervision, you will have individual supervision. Really, everything that you need to become a licensed therapist, you can do it here. And so I would say that somebody who wants to become an LPC should very, very heavily consider Friends of the Family. Also, I spoke about accessibility earlier, and Friends of the Family also has nights and weekend hours. And so, it can be overwhelming when you're a student and you have to complete 700 hours of internship. It can be done here. You can do it. You will check every box. And so I just really want to drive that point home that you'll be ready. You will be ready for licensure.
I appreciate you sharing that, Mariah. And I should have said too at the beginning of the webinar that the other part of that is if you are an LPC intern needing hours, we also accept interns who are not necessarily doing internship for school, but if you are someone who is wanting licensure hours, we accept internships for those purposes as well. Any other folks on the call want to say anything else?
I was just gonna say, oh, go ahead, Abby.
Oh no. I'll add in one more quick nugget just to reinforce something that Khadijah's already said, but if you're wanting to get into this line of work and doing direct client contact, especially at the intern level, start creating those healthy boundaries for yourself. Start ensuring that you have a support system, because it's one of those internships where you don't fully clock out of. You 5 p.m. can hit and you can say, all right, I'm going home, but this stuff stays with you. And while direct client contact is my favorite thing in the world, and I love it, it's the most rewarding thing that I get to do every single day, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I also understand my limits, and I wish I would have had more of that knowledge at the front end to set those boundaries, and to make sure I had support in whatever way that looks for someone, whether it's a counselor, close friends or family, but making sure that you're taking care of you, because while it's considered, just an internship, it's not. It's a lot deeper than that, and it's incredibly rewarding, but it can also be very hard.
Absolutely, I appreciate you saying that, Abby. I think vicarious trauma is real, and no matter your role here, no matter which department you are involved with, vicarious trauma will touch you here. Deja, I know you were about to say something too.
Yes, I was just gonna say, don't be afraid to ask questions. As you've pretty much heard from this call, like the common theme is there's plenty of support here. So if you have a question, just ask. If you're not able to get in contact with the direct supervisor, usually advocates are available, or really anybody is available to you to just answer any of the questions you have to make you feel supported. We've talked about vicarious trauma. If you need a debrief after any sessions or a SAT call or something like that, like there are plenty of people here who are more than willing to do that for you. So just take advantage of your resources and ask questions.
I love the asking questions because I am dedicated to being a lifelong learner, and I cannot learn without asking all the questions all the time. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you for being panelists on this. I'm so grateful for each of you and the work that you've done here and continue to do here, but also for giving your time today to do this. When I know each of you have client loads and things that you could have been doing instead. And so I am grateful to you for continuing to give back to Friends, the Family, and this community by being part of this. And I am so appreciative to all of you who tuned into this. And of course, this will be available and will live on our Facebook page and our YouTube page after this. And if you are interested in an internship at Friends of the Family, I'll make sure to put the link in the comments. thank y'all again for joining me today. I'm so grateful to you.